Cool. Well, thank you, Tim, and thank you everyone for your time today. I'm going to give you a quick, tell you some story about Volpara and give you some of the highlights of our financial year results, which we published yesterday. Let's start off by saying, we're on a mission to save lives from breast cancer, and we're going to do that by improving breast cancer detection today, with an ultimate aim actually to moving it all the way over to prevention. We'll come back to that as we go through the talk. Breast cancer kills 600,000 women a year globally. 40,000 or so of those are in the US each year, and thousands of those are across Australia and New Zealand. The key to breast cancer is if you detect it early, you can treat it, and the survival rates are very good. And that's prompted screening programs around the world to come up. And if you look on the left there, that diagram, you can see the size of the objects which are found at breast cancer screening using mammograms, breast x-rays, right the way across on the right there. If you find it by, for example, touching the breast and feeling a lump, an accidental discovery. So the aim of screening, detect it early, detect it small, and so on. Breast cancer screening is proved to save lives, but cancers are missed. It does generate false positives. Next generation breast cancer screening now is well underway. It's going to be personalized. It's going to be personalized around breast composition and a woman's breast cancer risk. So if we move to the next slide, please. Let's talk about breast composition then. This is some of our key science. We are at heart an AI company, and the key kind of science behind Volpara is all about automatic and objective measurements of the breast, bit of breast composition, breast positioning, radiation dose, and so on. And we're going to talk about how that science is embedded throughout our products during this talk. This is about breast composition though to start with, or as people call it, breast density. The breast consists of fibroglandular tissue, which people call dense tissue, and fatty tissue. So if you look on the left there, the A is a very fatty breast, and then the D with all the white tissue, that white tissue is dense tissue. That's what we call a dense breast. The more dense tissue you have, the higher your risk of developing cancer, but also the higher the risk of that cancer being missed at screening. So if you look at those x-rays again, if you look at the A example, you'll see the little white star is very visible against the background, whereas on the D, the white star, which is mimicking cancer, is very hard to see. So it's a double whammy for women with dense breasts. One of our core technologies and core scientific discoveries over the years has been how to compute a volumetric density score from these images. That's what we call true density. That's the percentage of the breast which is dense tissue. We've been incredibly clinically validated, over 300 publications. It's covered by multiple patents. It's the only commercial density tool in the world's leading breast cancer risk model, Tyrer-Cuzick. And you see down there on the left some of the Volpara scorecard, giving you the volumetric breast density for this woman, 6.7%, and some metrics about her breast tissue, such as breast volume, being around 800 cubic centimeters. So breast density is very, very important. Academically, it's been known about since the 1970s. On the right-hand side there, you'll see Nancy Capello. Nancy Capello had breast x-rays done for 10 years. Each time she got a letter from the radiologist afterwards saying, "Hi, Nancy, we couldn't see any signs of cancer, see you next year." And then one day Nancy got the letter, had a shower, felt a lump in the breast, and realized she had quite advanced stage breast cancer, which would end up killing her something like 10 years later. In between that time, though, Nancy went back to the radiologist and said, "Why have you missed my cancer?" And the radiologist said to Nancy, "Sorry, Nancy, you had dense breast tissue, so therefore we couldn't actually see it." That drove Nancy then to demand that all women should know their breast density. And that's why the US now is leading personalized breast cancer screening around by not only telling women their breast density, but actually doing something about it. So we go to the next slide, please. So that kind of science, that key AI skills to make things automatic and objective measurements is embedded in all our products. This is our what we call a Volpara Breast Health platform, and each of these is a Volpara product. So a woman walks into a clinic now, she enters her data such as family history, BMI, we generate a density score. We can tell that woman her lifetime risk of developing cancer, and the doctors then can start personalizing her screening based around that risk. It might be X-ray and ultrasound, or it might be X-ray and MRI, or it might be X-ray and you need some genetics testing as well, just to make sure you don't have the BRCA genes. So yeah, some X-rays done. Our product helps train the technologists there and educates them about good or bad image quality. That's the live product. And then the radiologist sits down with the Volpara scorecard and images. Their job is to detect cancer early. They do so in the full knowledge of the patient's risk and her density, thanks to our scorecard. Radiologist does a report, and all that information then is embedded into patient letter, which is our patient hub product over there on the right-hand side. All the data then flows up into the cloud, where our patient hub and analytics programs process all that data and show you trends. So we can show you trends in radiation dose. We can say one of your machines is overcompressing the breast, which is why you're generating lots of complaints, or one of your machines is giving high radiation dose and it needs to be fixed, or so on. So the key to personalization of breast care is good objective measurements, but also a smooth IT workflow. And that's really what's made us a leading company in this space globally. Next slide, please. Over the years then, we've done a lot of organic growth, very strong organic growth, but also we've pursued some inorganic M&A to bring in special skills. So the one on the left there, June 2019, was about bringing in patient data and the patient hub product. We had the images, we want the patient data to go alongside it. And then earlier this year, we brought a Boston-based company, Volpara Health, because they're world experts in risk and genetics. Now, combined Vappara's expertise in density, the patient data, the images, and now the risk and genetics. You know, our aim as a company is to obviously be commercially successful, but as we do so, to collect data to help us generate more products, better products, but also ultimately try to move the game, shift the paradigm from early detection all the way through to prevention. Let's predict breast cancer, or who might develop breast cancer in advance to far greater accuracy than possible today. Let's start monitoring the women who are at high risk and look for subtle changes in the breast tissue over time. And then if cancer does occur, let's make sure we detect it very early. So yeah, all these acquisitions have been very strategic in nature, all leading us towards that big goal. Next slide, please. So let's go through some of the metrics, and then we'll come on to the financial year results. We are a SaaS company, and we are a software company, just to reiterate that. At the end of March, we're up 18.6 million of annual recurring revenue. That was 60% or so up over the year, and includes 20% organic growth. The market we operate in is very big. We estimate it to be $750 million of annual recurring revenue. Obviously, then there's huge growth yet to go. And even though we're covering 32% of the market at the moment, that is 32% being covered with just one product. And to get to that 750 million, yeah, we need to roll out all our products that we just talked about across all those 40 million or 92 million women across the world. So yeah, lots of growth to go, but we're very pleased with where we are. We're very pleased during this COVID period, especially, to have such strong growth. Next slide, please. Let's talk a bit about ARPU. As our average ARPU at the moment is $1.40. That's a blended ARPU, and it's kind of on the lower side, because many of that 32% of women covered, many of them being used by only one product, which has got very low ARPU because it was sold on a capital contract. As we move those capital contracts onto SaaS contracts, we are seeing big jumps in the ARPU at those sites. The average ARPU in Q4 was actually $2.50, and recently we published 7 or 8 customers, some of our favorite customer deals, which really show that pathway to $10, and that's that down there at the bottom. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Just running through then, US, we have a fantastic coverage, obviously 32%, but also we have some very big sites, MD Anderson, MSK, and we are waiting for the FDA as well to take on Nancy's message and make breast density reporting mandatory for all women. That was reiterated, the FDA is seriously looking at in February, and we're still waiting for final confirmation of when that will happen. Next slide, please. We are, though, a global company, a lot of focus on Australia and New Zealand. We have a big private presence now in Australia in particular, and we're doing lots of work on the public screening programs. Queensland, we announced earlier this year, and we have another one in the bag as well, which has been on pause due to COVID, but we understand that's starting to move pretty progressively forward now towards implementation. Next slide, please. Yeah, look, just touching on FY21 results, very pleasing. Revenue was up 57% or so to just under 20 million. Almost all of it now is SaaS revenue, again, which is excellent recurring revenue. Very pleasing to us as a business. We've done a lot of work on scaling the business, and that's really showing now in a 20% or so or improvement in costs and burn over that period. Very strong cash position, 32 million, and again, making things more scalable. Gross margin is now 91%, up from 86%. So we've had a very strong year in terms of growth, plus making the company scalable. Next slide, please. Year ahead, we very much now talk about accelerate out COVID. We see a lot of confidence now in the US market in particular. We're going to focus on risk and genetics, but with a laser focus onto the install base, which is obviously ripe for upsells. And also, though, we fully understand now the US market and who our ideal customers are for new sales growth. With that, we are very confident in the year ahead, and our guidance around revenue is to exceed $25 million. So yeah, looking forward to the year ahead, collecting that data and slowly but surely moving towards our goal as a company, which is moving the paradigm from detection all the way through to prevention. So Tim, with that, open for questions.
I was coming. My mouse wasn't working. I'm sorry, Ralph. Ralph, a fantastic product addressing a very big problem. Who is the client and who owns the data? So your clients are clinics and hospitals, and does the woman own the data, and is that data transferable?
Yeah, so in the US, our customer very much is the radiologist and the breast imaging sites. The data is owned by the site, but the women in the US have rights to rights to access the data and get access to the data. As with all these things, it can be quite convoluted, but the US laws around this stuff are pretty clear. And remember as well, we are totally committed to doing the right thing legally and morally. And almost all the data that we collect and use, we're allowed to use it for product development, but we're not allowed to sell it, for example.
And from a customer acquisition perspective, is the plan to kind of upsell the existing client base?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That existing client base is absolutely, it was been critical to us over this last year because there's been no trade shows and so on. But it represents a very rich opportunity for upselling this year. And our US sales team is really laser focused onto it.
And talking about COVID, what was the impact there for you over the last 12 months or so?
Yeah, great question, Tim. Obviously, it's been an extremely stressful period, I think, for everyone around the world. Our biggest concern, I think our industry's biggest concern was screening stopped for 2 years globally. And as a consequence of that, lots of cancers were missed or late stage cancers started coming through rather than having them detected early. So yeah, I mean, the biggest consequences for women obviously was more late stage cancers, which as we started out this talk are harder to treat and they've got increased mortality linked to them. As a company, we've come out of the year very strongly. COVID almost kick-started making us much more scalable by really making us focus a lot more on being digital, digital videos, digital marketing, and so on. So yeah, we've come out of it strongly and we're in a great position now to really grow over this next year.
And any competitors in the space? Seems to be a consistent question here.
Yep, there's competition kind of buzzing around kind of each of the individual little products, but no one has the overall compelling platform that we do, and that continues to be a key selling point for what we do.
And one last question, Ralph, in regards to when we become cash flow positive, do you expect?
Yeah, our focus as a company is making the company scalable and showing a pathway to profitability. But at the moment, we're very focused on to growth. But in the background, rest assured, there's lots of work making sure there's a path there to profitability if and when we need it.